Hi, everyone. It's Ryan here in San Francisco. And I thought I would share an activity that we're getting ready to do this afternoon to practice perspective taking and making smart guesses. And it's called Brain Trade. And it's one that we frequently play when we are face to face, but works really well to play online too. So here's how it works. Here's what you will need. You will need a couple of visuals for the pieces you're going to be working on. So you're going to want to have a smart guess formula handy. So what we can see, what we hear, and what we already know or remember about something. You're going to want to have some different characters that we can trade our brains for. And you can do this using anything that you may have around or you can create. So this is these are game cards that come from a game called Picture Charades. And there are both animals and then also people. So lots of options there. I also found that I could use these cards from the Guess What I Am game that have different characters on them that you can fit your face into. And then in a pinch, you can also create your own cards. So for some students, we can even just write what it is on the card. I do find though that having an image, having some sort of visual really supports the shared imagination and the perspective taking piece. Because unless a student has a lot of knowledge about the character that they're trading their brain with, it can be hard to answer some of the questions their peers might ask. Okay, so you've got your smart guess formula handy. You've got your characters that you may trade your brain for. And then to support the process of wondering, you're going to want to have some prompts for wonder questions. So if I'm trying to figure out whose brain someone else is traded for, I might ask questions like, well, what kind of food do you like to eat? What do you like to watch? What do you like to play with? You could even get a little bit more detailed into how do you move or what do you look like, just to get some clues and information. Okay, so with all those visuals handy, here's how it would work. I would go first just to model some of this, and I would say to whoever I'm playing with, this can be an individual or a group, I'm going to take out my Ryan brain and I'm going to trade it for a character. Now, I know which character's brain I've traded for, but you do not. So you would have to ask me wonder questions to try and figure it out. So I will show you. I'm going to pretend that I have the brain of the frog. And so this is where I would hold up my different props and my visual supports here to support those wonder questions and then smart guesses. So this is going to be a game that focuses a lot on gathering clues from what we can hear and what our brain might already know. Unless I want to actually act like a frog, in that case, there would be clues you could see where I might hop around. All right, it was a little bit difficult to do though with the computer on the table, but we can use our flexible thinking. All right, so as back to our visual supports here, if you're trying to figure out whose brain I have, you could ask, what kinds of foods do you like to eat? And I would answer that I like to eat bugs. My favorite, though, is catching flies that might be flying by. Now, at this point, you might have two guesses. You might think maybe I'm a spider or maybe I'm a frog, which is fine because remember, it's just a smart guess. You're not supposed to know, you're going to keep gathering information. So, to support you, then we can come up with another wonder question. What else could we ask? So, another question would be what do you like to play with? And to that, again, if I'm thinking through my frog brain, I would say my favorite game has got to be one where you jump from lily pad to lily pad to lily pad. Hands down, my favorite. Although I hate when I miss and I end up in the lake or in the swamp. Okay. So we've got another clue we could hear, and we can connect that to our knowledge and try and come up with, another idea of what this could be. Now, if our original idea was maybe a spider, maybe a frog, what does that new information help us figure out? Well, spiders may not hop from lily pad to lily pad. I don't know. This might be my limited spider knowledge. Maybe some do. And what I like to do as an additional element to this is require that students come up with at least three guesses before they make their smart guess. That they ask three wonder questions before they make their smart guess. So for a couple of reasons. Then we're practicing using these wonder questions. And we're also practicing gathering and incorporating any new information we have to help us to make a smart guess. So you've asked two questions now about food I might like to eat and what I like to play. And if maybe you're thinking, oh, I think she might be a frog, then what kind of question could you ask next that might help you kind of tip one way or the other, or might smarten up your guess? And in this case, you might ask, well, how do you move? And then I could do one of two things. I could model or demonstrate how I would move, or I can just give you another clue you can hear and say that I move by hopping. Okay, you've had three clues now, and now you can make your smart guess. And I know that I am pretending to have the brain of the frog. So hopefully that would also be your smart guess. All right, it can continue in this way where we take turns, then making guesses about each other. So I would, of course, I've got to take my frog brain out and put my Ryan brain back in, and then I pass the turn to someone else. Now, knowing that we're doing this virtually, you can create a document or a PowerPoint slide that has images of different characters in them so that you're narrowing the field. You can have several or maybe just one of two. It really depends on who your student is and what's going to make the most sense and really support them. So the same visuals that I'm holding up in the screen, you could also create into slides or documents themselves that you can screen share to make this even easier. And that way, I've got lots of materials and supplies here, but that way your students would also have the visual supports on their side in order to most effectively engage in this activity. All right. Well, hope that gave you an idea of a way to keep practicing perspective taking and making smart guesses about others, and practicing those wonder questions as well. All right. Have fun. We're all in this together.